Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Thank you for joining me. If you're joining me tonight, thank you for watching. If you watch at some point, how you doing? Good evening, folks. I want to talk about salaries. I'm going to go through a few individuals and their salaries. And I really want to show the increases that they've gotten and just how much they're getting paid. It's a lot of money individuals here in the city of Yonkers are getting paid. And I wanted to compare it to other cities. I was looking, I'm going to show some New York City salary stuff, but it's crazy. It's outrageous that, the amount of money individuals make and some of the, stories to some of these individuals, possibly why they make this much money, right? We talk about the family and friends network here in the city of Yonkers. Well, many of these individuals are part of the family and friends network. So I wanted to go through some of them. And I've been hearing a lot. I'm going to tell you one thing. An official in the city of Yonkers, had a sexual encounter behind a bar in Bronxville. I'm just going to say that. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I know some people hate that, but that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, folks, I want to go over some of these individuals here that would work for the city. Some may not work for the city anymore. So I'm going to start with an individual by the name of Hakeem Jamal. You guys remember that guy, Hakeem Jamal? He was the individual that worked for the city that was hanging out with several city employees. They were out drinking, having a great old time. Jamal left, drove home, was going down Central Avenue, but the only problem was he was going down the wrong way. He hit another car, injuring himself and the other driver, and yet this guy continued to get raises. He didn't get fired. He didn't even go to jail for that. No drunk driving, no DUI. And I hear he's now working for Kathy Hochul, which is another reason why we shouldn't vote for her. And he's making $200,000 a year. And I want to be very clear, disclaimer, I'm not picking on people. This is not personal. It's really about the money that's being spent and why are some of these individuals getting these raises, especially during 2021, year, pandemic years, right? Hakeem Jamal started out in 2017 making $32,998. And the following year in 2018, he became the mayor's assistant and he got an increase and he was now being paid $55,076. This was after the accident. Then in 2019, he was named Director of Community Outreach, a made-up job. And this is what I'm saying. When we wonder where the money is, well, here's one of the ways that the money goes to waste, through made-up jobs given to individuals just because. Community Outreach Director. And at that point, he was making $62,919. So he started out at 32 in 2017. By 2019, even though he had a DUI where he crashed going down the wrong way on Central Avenue, injuring himself and another man, he still was making 62, a $30,000 increase. In 2020, he was making $86,364, and by 2021, he was making $94,784. $62,000 raise in 2 years. It's unbelievable. And so not only did Hakeem Jamal have a job and continue to get raises, this is taxpayer money, right? This is why I'm talking about it. But his dad also got a job, hired on the computer floor about a year ago, making more than the lady, or about the same, that's been there for 30 years. His sister, Abdul, is his dad. Abdul's daughter also was hired by the city. And so all this taxpayer money going to individuals for what reason? Most likely because they contribute to campaigns. A lot of money. And some say that the money that they contribute is actually a percentage of their salary. And that's what they have to pay in order to get the job, right? They have this job now, you got to pay a percentage. Gio Sedona, chief shop steward now, started out in 2017 making $176,000 a year. And then he went up to $176,125. At his highest, it was 2020, he was making $184,800. I hear he's good friends with Lenny Spano. Started out as a regular guy, and then it was moved up quickly to chief shop steward. Doesn't do anything, doesn't know much. But how are these individuals making $184,000? And during the 2020 year, when there was a pandemic, everything was shut down. That's a lot of money. How many people are making $180,000 a year? And I'm getting information. You can look this up in salaries. These are people that are just wanting to point out certain things here that are just not okay. Stefan Wilgermean. Here's the cousin to, I believe, the mayor possibly. Had a job, a base salary of $78,000 in 2017, but with overtime was making $114,996. In 2018, $124,996. By 2019, $137,642. By 2020, $154,801. By 2021, $207,291. Fattening up the pockets, the paychecks with unnecessary overtime. Is that what's happening here when you have a base salary of $78,000, $80,000, but you're taking home over $100,000 because of overtime? Is this okay? Like, is this wise money management, wise spending? Should we allow such overtime? And this is one of the complaints that Thomas DiNapoli, the New York State Comptroller, constantly made in his reports. The money being spent on overtime. You're relying too much on the state. Stop spending so much money in overtime is what he would say. But that's how individuals milk the taxpayer money here in the city of Yonkers through false these overtimes and doing nothing. Are they necessary? Stephen Levy, deputy mayor, been with the Spano family over 25 years. 25 years. Right? And in 2017, he was making $189,000. When 2018, $193, 2019, $234, $887. Then he went down in 2020, $196. Then he went back up in 2021 to $217,269. I hear he's a good guy. You know, wanted to do the right thing, but said, hey, I might as well get some money too, right? Might as well milk the taxpayers' money. It's free money. And then, I seen this guy, and no wonder he dressed so nice and had these, tailored suits, right? He was a very fancy guy. He was the mayor's driver. He just stood out because I used to get my suits tailored back when I used to wear suits and stuff. So, I pay attention to that stuff. I said, that's a well-dressed driver, man. Guy's always nice and fitted, a little muscular too. Bogdan. Oh, no, this is not Bogdan. This is another guy. I'll get to that guy. Let's get to that guy. Khalid Nasser. That's the guy I'm talking about. Recently retired. In 2017, he was making $247,487. In 2018, $254,000. 2019, $256,000. In 2020, $259,802. And then in 2021, he went down to $192,670. That's because, again, he probably worked less overtime. But that's a total of $1.2 million, $1,211,034 from 2017 to 2021. This well-dressed man, who's a YPD officer, he was a police officer, and the mayor's driver made. Wow. Brother works also at DPW. In fact, his brother was involved in a robbery at A&V Pizza. And I believe he hit the owner of A&V Pizza's wife over the head. But that's just what I'm getting from sources. Goes way back. Right? Goes way back to high school. Damn, a lot of money that Khalid Nassar made just, driving around. But I guess he drives the mayor around, did a lot of overtime driving. Wow, 1.2 mil in 5 years. Nice. Carlos Merante. And then think, you have to understand, there's also these pensions. So when they fatten their, salaries, their yearly incomes for the last 3 years, they take that 3 years and calculate what they're going to be paid when they retire. So they still are getting a huge salary even when they're retired. But I hear many people are looking forward to the mayor running again and winning, because that means another at least 4 years of them fattening their pockets, right? Because someone else might say, hey, wait a minute, gotta go. Carlos Merante, head of human resources. 2017, making 107. Z, this is the Spanish guy. The Spanish guy doesn't get much raises, right? See, Carlos, how they do you? Though you got 178,950, made the same in 2018, made the same 2019. 2020 went up to 185. And then 21, he was at 195. But those are pandemic years. Why are people getting raises during the pandemic years? I mean, people are losing jobs and you guys are getting 12, 10, $20,000 raises. That's not okay. I don't think so. Anthony Del Betti dated one of the mayor's sisters, actually, I'm hearing from sources, fired for running a car service during work hours. But he was rehired in 2017 to making $126,674. By 2018, he was making $144,087. By 2019, $151,461. Then he slowed up on the overtime in 2020, making $147,000. And then 2021, he only made $135,000. And I say only. Sources say he does nothing all day. Right? He has an office in the back of City Hall where he would stay all day and even been known to sleep while on the clock. Just milking the timesheet. Milking it. Control board needs to come back to Yonkers. What's that about, the control board? Can you tell me a little bit about it? And Brian Delaney started out in 2017 at $154,000. At currently 2021 was the last season. That's $160,035. I mean, wow. Unbelievable the amount of money some of these individuals make. This is crazy. Let's go back to Bogdan. Bogdan Fisakasakos. I can't pronounce. Fixaxo. I can't pronounce the last name. Bogdan. We'll call him Bogdan. I mean, you know who he is. Bogdan. Personal driver. He also worked at the Polish Center. Now the Castle Royale. He was a security guard at City Hall. Started out at $78,000 in 2017. By 2021, was making $136,579. Wow. And some people said this overtime stuff wasn't really here back then. This wasn't something that was happening a lot. And all of a sudden we have a lot of overtime. And again, this is very important because we are constantly talking about the lack of money here in the city of Yonkers and how we need money. We need money. The schools don't have money. No money for programs. No money for sports programs, extracurricular programs, intramural programs. No money to renovate the schools. They are in much need of repairs. No ACs, no heating, overcrowding, textbooks going in the garbage. So we always hear this. Where's the money? There's no money. Look, the universal pre-K students, only 150 got placed. There were 250 or so that did not. And why? Because the money ran out. Even though the state gave additional money for this school year, the money still ran out. And so I've talked to many parents now here in the city of Yonkers that were upset about this, you know, that lucky to have heard about little prodigies because we're taking them in. Right? This is not okay, man. And this is why I am talking about it. You have to understand that the money is being siphoned. It's being mismanaged, misappropriated. We have to cut back. We have to. It's important. Spano crime family has mastered the art of creating loyalists using the city purse. Gifts in the form of cush, overtime, saturated positions is how they completely control the public sector unions, particularly the CLSA, captains, lieutenants, sergeants, Anthony Association. They look at all these people. They look at all these people. He's making all this money. Control board. Oh, okay. They look at, yeah. Well, you have the New York State Comptroller, Anthony, you got your name. Thomas DiNapoli. He's supposed to take a look at that, and he has mentioned it, but what has he done besides create a report? Not much. So I want to share it with you folks because most people don't read that report, right? Most people do not even pay attention to it. Don't even know that it exists, that you can actually look at it. What is the city salary here? Average base salary in the city of Yonkers, $179,730. But the average person that lives in the city of Yonkers makes $35,000 a year. So people that are making these salaries, particularly a lot of the city employees, obviously, they're going to live elsewhere, bringing that money with them, paying property taxes elsewhere, taking more money. So not only is this overtime that they're receiving, people are saying unnecessarily, they're not putting into the property tax. So it's like double dipping. It's like taking more, causing a bigger effect. On the low end, 154,000 is the average. On the low end is 154 is the low end. 154,835. High $208,247. That's crazy. That's unbelievable. Average salary of a building maintenance worker, 53,000, but with overtime, they're hitting 100,000. Assistant fire chief, base salary or average salary, 105, but they're making over 200 some thousand. Police officer says 62,000. The average police officer makes, according to Mayor Spano, $142,000 or $143,000. This is an article from 2018. Yonkers saw a big rise in worker salaries in recent years, as officials considered hundreds of layoffs, mostly because Yonkers can't afford its workers' rising salaries. All of the 2017 top earners saw double-digit increases in their gross pay from the previous year. A review of municipal workers' 2017 earnings showed that some of the highest-paid staffers saw a large increase between 2016 and 2017. Deferred raises as far back as 2009 caused Yonkers salaries to rise about 19.3% between 2014 and 2017. Last week, Mayor Spano proposed laying off up to 403 workers, with about half of the city side and the other half from the public school side. Spano said most of the deficit on the city side was attributed to rising employee salaries and benefits. Again, let me read that. Spano said most of the deficit on the city side was attributable to rising employee salaries and benefits. This is what the mayor's saying. At the end of 2014, salary records show the city spent $223.6 million on gross pay. By the end of 2017, that had risen to $266.8 million. What is the city spending now? I'm going to read this really quick here. Yonkers Public School. Let's start with our schools. That's important. Over the years, you've heard me speak of staggering deficiencies that Yonkers Public Schools face due to necessary cuts in services. Last month, you heard from our superintendent of schools, Dr. Edwin Casada, who outlined the $50.8 million budget shortfall Yonkers School will face this year. and how, despite the pandemic, have forged ahead, facing even more challenges despite the lack of funding. Again, we're having to hear this. When are we ever going to hear the Yonkers Public Schools has so much money now that we're going to be building these great schools? We're going to be bringing these state-of-the-art, complexes and programs. No more books that we throw out every year. We're going to get every student these pads, like iPads, digital books. Download new ones. Save the planet. What's up with this climate change? Was that being recycled? I believe the lack of funding is due to what I consider to be the result of two educational systems in this state. One for the haves and one for the have-nots. Or in simpler term, one for the rich districts and one for the poorer ones. For years, I've commented to you about the systemic inequality for Yonkers schools because of an antiquated foundation aid formula. This has only become more evident with the historic adaptations that have had to be made as a result of the pandemic. Many of our children live below the poverty level. The district has been forced to buy students devices and supply them with Wi-Fi. The state aid formula uses a combined wealth ratio that is not reflective of children we educate. Right, because many of the employees and others are making us $100,000 and $1,000 a year. And they're leaving Yonkers when they go home at 2:30, 1 o'clock when they leave. All right, some of them stay till 3. Right? They're going to Yorktown Heights, to Mayopac, Ossining, and they're paying the property taxes there, leaving those who live here to average $35,000 a year. The ones that go to school here to live below or at or below the poverty line, never making it out because there's nothing there to provide them with the resources, tools, opportunities, and it's a repeated cycle. So what do? Continue to blame the state aid, or do we actually be proactive and figure this out? Are we waiting on welfare, Yonkers? The state aid formula uses a combined wealth ratio. I read that already. Over 73% are economically disadvantaged, the student body. 19% are students with disabilities. 11% are English language learners. And 77% are African American or Hispanic. Booyah. Now I found the problem. 77% are African American or Hispanic, live at or below the poverty line. They cannot afford many of those luxury developments that our Democratic majority, full of beautiful Black women and Latina women, have failed by bringing in these luxury apartments that they cannot afford, further making it difficult and bringing in a new level of housing insecurity. How about that? Tasha Diaz, have you ever heard of housing insecurity? I know you know all about food insecurity. The federal government made available $4 billion in aid to New York schools. According to the local district funding adjustment reduction proposed by the governor, New York's aid to Yonkers will be decreased by $29 million this year. That's $20 million more of reduction by any other of the big 4 school districts. Yes, and I love how they compare Yonkers to the other schools like, Rochester and Syracuse. But we looked at that. Why? First of all, Rochester is bigger district. They have more people, almost 80,000 or so more the population. They also are a lot more poor than Yonkers. Did you know that Rochester is the? I'm sorry, is it Rochester? Syracuse? I think it's Rochester. Yeah, Rochester, I believe, is the second poor. Is it Rochester? What is the school that the city always compare it to? Rochester, Syracuse. I forgot what it was. The school that they always compare it to, I thought it was Rochester. They said it's the second poorest in the nation. So Yonkers wants to compare itself to the second poorest city in the nation. Right? More of their people live in poverty than those that here in Yonkers. Yonkers generates a lot more income than the city they love to compare it to. It's Buffalo. I'm sorry, I think it's Buffalo. It's Buffalo, I believe it was compared to. Buffalo, right? And so we cannot compare it, and they use that lame excuse every time. Oh, the state doesn't give us as much money as other cities. We're the stepchild. No, we're mismanaging the money. It says it right there in the report, the Comptroller's report. You can read it. Comptroller, I'm sorry. Thomas DiNapoli, mismanaging money, too much on salaries. And I'm not trying to knock people. I know people are going to get upset. Freddie, they work for the city. Freddie, no, don't go there, Freddie. And I know a lot of people are relying on the city council to eliminate terms so that the mayor may run again because they're concerned that they may not be working for the city much longer. Or some people want to come back because they retired and thinking that the mayor was going to be done. But they're hearing he may run again. So we might see, some individuals who had retired in recent years come back. That's true. That's what sources are telling me. City of Yonkers expenditures. I want to just look at this really quick just to see the difference, the increases that have happened from 2005 to 2007. This is property taxes here. Can't highlight it. At the top, $245 million in 2005. In 2007, they anticipated $259 million. Now let's look at the departments. They cost us $206 million in 2005. By 2007, it was $214 million. Property taxes going up. $272 million, $772 in 2008. Well, it was at $259. It went up. And we continue to go up. $297 by 2010. What about departments? In 2008, we were spending $245 million. But it went up and down. In 2010, it was at $244. That was what was adopted. But we were at $206. Now by 2010, from 2005, I say 5 years later, we're at $244 from $206 in spending for city departments. And we just continue to rise. It's 2011 to 2013. 2013, look, we're already hitting the $300 million in property taxes. 2011, right? I showed you 2005. We were at 245. 2011, $305 million. That's just property taxes. You still have special taxes, state funding, and the city departments bring in money, other revenue. 2013, $327,820,814 in property taxes. But look, our departments are still fairly, 235. They went up to 241, 2012, 243. Then they went down to 232. But then they got crazy. Property taxes, 330 for 2014, 2016, 341. City departments, 293. Look, it went down, actually. Let's look at the most recent. So this is what the city now spending, 2020 to 2022. We are generating $385 million 2020, $744,975 in property taxes. Total revenue, $771,491,140. That's not including the Liberty Fund, Water Fund, Sewer Fund, and what we receive for the Board of Education's budget. That's just city municipal revenue on the city side. $771 million. That's a lot of money. But that doesn't mean that you guys could go crazy with the overtime. That's a lot of money. City departments in 2020, $315 million, $364. Remember, in 2005, it was $206 million. And it just went up. 2022, expenditures were city departments were $339,250,928. What did we bring in taxes that year? Well, property tax, $390 million. This is the adopted budget actually for 2022. Anticipating $390,725,376. So we're looking at about $811 million this year. Just on the municipal side, just taxes, I should say. State and federal funding, city departments, other revenue, appropriated fund balance, both general revenue reserve. Then if you add Liberty Fund, Water Fund, Sewer Fund, and the Board of Education, you're looking at 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion. But our expenses keep coming up, keep going up. You know, when you want to manage, you know, a business or a city, the goal is to keep your expenses low and your profits up. Your revenues you want to increase, but you want to continue to either maintain your expenses at a certain point and try to reduce them. We understand things happen, right? Taxes go up as a business owner or whatever, or expenses go up, and you know you have to pay employees more. Minimum wage goes up. I get that, but it seems like it's just constantly going up, and there's been no attempt to really keep it steady. 17 years, it went from 206 million to 339 million in city departments. Why do you think that is? Right? It's the raises they get in these contracts, unions, overtime. And the problem we have with that, someone's telling me, or people have been telling me, is the money being spent on officers who are doing traffic duty for Con Edison. Con Edison does pay the city. However, that money's not put back into the departments. It's put into the general fund. And so then that money is not used to, you know, reimburse what the city paid for that officer or those officers, and then also their pensions. So we're getting screwed there. We'll see if mayor for life even wants a fourth term should Zeldin pull off an upset. The Albany printing machine would be unplugged overnight. No more lucrative contracts for Spano to dole out to developers offering the sweetest kickbacks in exchange for him crushing the housing ordinance increase. Yeah, that's a good point. You think if Zeldin gets in there, this is going to stop? It's going to end their, end the parade for, people getting all this money. It's going to make it more difficult for them. We'll see. Let me see what else. What else I got here? But I want to show you that, folks, because it's important. It's, city employees, guys, chill out. All right. Don't be upset with me. We have to think about our kids and the future of this city. You can't be selfish, right? And I get it. You got bills to pay and stuff. And especially when you're making that much money, start living a certain lifestyle. I was talking to somebody, some nice people that work for the city. There really is some nice people there, because they're not everybody is doing this, right? Not everybody is involved in this. There's some really nice people that work for the city. And I was talking to one lady, and she was just like, you have to see all the luxury vehicles that they're driving. I really couldn't say that. I mean, I drive, but I also hold my own business, right? I'm not taking taxpayer money to pay for my luxury vehicle. And it's sad when our kids, are going without. I'm getting taxed. I'm getting $150,000 of taxpayer money. Let's say I work in a school. And then I'm like, look at this crap. These kids have mold on the ceiling, the walls, they have boarded up doors. Lockers are all broken up. You can't even put a lock on it. Outdated or bent up. And that's sad. Those kids walk into that school, they don't feel good about themselves, but they don't care, right? Because what we say, 73% is Black and Latino. Those are the people that are getting pushed out right now. Pushed out of the Southwest side and Northwest side. I don't care. So, when the city council president tries to, reprimand me or try to point out something and say you're wrong because you have a Black wife and you said what you said about little black puppet, I look at them and I'm like, and I think to myself, but look what you guys are doing. And I said that because that's what they're looking at you as, because you're doing it for them. And these are your people and mine, but your people. And you're not standing up to say, no, we need more affordable housing. No, we need more money to be allocated to our schools. They're falling apart. They're not getting an adequate education. How do you expect them to get out of poverty, to get out of the living situation that they're in now? They're mothers that are in need of places to live. that are safe and healthy, that are without mold, damages from water. And this is not just, 1 or 2 cases. I've been to many places, not just on the southwest and northwest side. I've been to places off Central Avenue. And it's not just black and white, black and Latino, because I've been to an elderly woman who was white. Her apartment had a flood. Dude, they didn't do anything. They didn't dry it out properly, so the wooden floors are now squeaking when you walk on them, starting to pitch up. They painted over the mold and the damaged sheetrock. That's it. They just painted over it, and the mold on the cabinets. And this is an older woman, an elderly woman. And she's been complaining, but many people are scared to complain because then they have issues with municipal housing. Or what they'll do is say, okay, well, we're not going to pay your rent because the landlord needs to fix that. Landlord's not going to fix it anytime soon. So it's not just affecting black and Latinos. I want to make sure I make that a point, as everyone. But I'm saying that as a Democratic majority, a council that consists of 4 minority women, 3 blacks, 1 Latina, and you guys have not done anything that truly empowers your people at all. Not one thing. Nothing that empowers your people that will help that young generation living in the southwest side and south side break out of poverty. And I've spoken to a few of you on my ideas to do that. I would love to see more kids, have an opportunity to do what I did and break out of poverty. Right? I have fucking blueprint, yo. And you guys don't reach out. You guys don't reach out to other individuals that truly want to help because you guys are puppets. You guys are puppets. And I want to point this out again, city people, please. Our kids don't have a lot here, man. Okay? A lot of people are poor here. It's crazy. And their solution is to bring in luxury developments and push people out. That's not the solution. That's not the solution to me. Okay, we couldn't have improved the city without pushing people out, bringing expensive developments, causing problems for everybody. Okay, everybody, rents, taxes, everybody, overcrowding, super crazy traffic nowadays. This is everybody's being affected. Taxes, water bills, rates keep going up, sewer. Absolutely, Fred. Nice jacket, bro. Actually, who you talking to me? Because I wear this often. This is my podcast jacket. Right? It's after Labor Day. I can't wear the white one. So that's why I mention it, people who work for the city who are getting this money, but more so for those who don't do work. Because I hear a lot of people are not even working. They're milking taxpayer money here in the city of Yonkers. They're part of the Friends and Family Network. Did anyone ever find out if Grace Barani is still working at DPW as a maintenance worker 3? Or did she ever come back from her maternity leave? She's making money. What about Seda Juris, $130,000 a year? What is she actually doing? What about Michael Sabatino? Is he earning the $120,000 he's making at constituent services? I would like to know this. So we have to audit these individuals because many of these jobs are just made up. It's made up. Let's look at the city really quick. Look at this. Nowhere near base salary. Let's see what they get in total. It's nowhere near. You don't see no 100,000s. Nothing in the hundreds of thousands. This is New York City. I saw one. I found one. It's like where's Waldo here for New York City employees? But not for Yonkers. Yonkers has some of the highest paid city employees of any city in this country. And I think that has caused huge problems for our city. That has been the primary reason we have this deficit, and they will try and sell you on, the formula, the state aid, the state's not bringing enough money or giving us enough money. We're not treated like the other big 5 schools, but they don't give you the details. It's just smoke and mirrors. The reality is the money is being mismanaged here in the city of Yonkers, misappropriated, siphoned by Friends and Family network individuals, and it's time to end that. And these are the individuals that are going to want to fight to keep things the way they are. They don't want to change. So we have to come out. If you haven't been out, if you haven't been active in politics, you have to come out. You have to come out. If you are in need of affordable housing, you have to come out. If you are living in squalor, you have to come out. If you're having problems with your child's IEP, getting services for them, you have to come out. If you're tired of the potholes, breaking down your tires, like mine, I had to fix a cracked rim. I had to replace my wife's tires, all four of them, because she had a freaking explosion tire, whatever. But I figure wintertime's coming up, right? A lot of damage to our vehicles. Tired of it getting overcrowded. More and more people coming in. We're becoming the sixth borough for real. We're Broncos now. That's who we are. We're no longer Yonkers. We're Broncos. And if we don't come out and vote next year, it's only going to get worse. And many of you may not be here anymore. You will be leaving Yonkers to find somewhere else to live because you can no longer afford the rent. It's happening everywhere in Yonkers. No Dine Hill, if you live there, your rent's going up too. Elm Street, Ash, your rents are going up. So everyone's feeling it. And so we have to come out and vote. Have to exercise your right to vote. Anyway, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. Anything else? I think I had some other things I forgot. But anything else you guys want to talk about? Anything else I should know? Anything else happened? There was a shooting on Woodworth yesterday, I believe. Yesterday evening around 10:45, I did put the police blotter or whatever you call it. 15-year-old, I believe, was involved. A 15-year-old and a 19-year-old. Hey, listen. Don't worry about it. You know what? Soon enough, Joe Carter is going to get rid of everybody there. There'll be movie studios, and the only gunshots you're going to hear are props from movies being made. The union statement. What union statement? I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, you want to talk about that? Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you reminded me. Anthony DiMaggio did make mention that the union spoke out in regards to the incident that happened with the officer, the female officer, and the three individuals involved in that fight. Well, remember the two big guys were beating up that one other guy, and the tall, blonde, slim officer, sergeant, I believe she was, came onto the scene by herself. And so she was being criticized by people, by the media, for not doing enough, not, tasering them, shooting the people, and just sitting there pretty much watching it. But Mike Hanley, the president of the CLSA, has put out a comment. He put out a comment. You got it there? I could show it. I don't know if you have it somewhere there. I want to read what he put, or maybe you can write what he said. But he's coming out in support of the officer. And this is just right after that, right? I believe, Anthony, the show that we did, the interview, when you came on, and we talked about that, and I believe they put out a statement the day after that, because basement politics has some juice. I see, and other people are noticing that things are happening because of basement politics, what's being said on here. And, so we're making an impact. I say we all making an impact. When you guys watch the show, when you share the show, when you talk about the show, you create this force that cannot be reckoned with. And I want it to continue to grow. So I need every single body that wants to create change to be a part of this movement. I call it a movement, so we have some juice now, right? And so they're doing things. Freddie Vasquez says this, we got to do this because, they're fixing up the potholes now. You guys know that? They're patching things up. That's right. They're going around fixing things up. I hear they're going to do a big, whole, whatever you want to call it, going out there to patch up all these potholes. They got crazy with them. They're absolutely insane. I sent you a link, Anthony, if you want to join me really quick. Check your email. Great show, Freddie. Love, peace, and soul. Thank you, Romario. I appreciate you, man. And you're a real brother because you don't care. You will say what, and I'm not, this is not a diss to nobody. I don't want to sound like I'm dissing anybody, but I'm saying you don't care, right? You let me, you be chilling next to me, talking to me, and you be saying stuff loudly. You know what I'm saying? That's Midland Pizza. We went Midland Pizza at the Midland Pizzeria. Remember that? Cool guy, Romario. We were chopping it up over there at Midland Pizza at the Columbus Day Parade, right? Good pizza there, by the way, folks. First time I had a slice there. I haven't been back, but it was good pizza. The mayor had walked in and stuff. We were talking and all that stuff, and it was a funny situation. You had to be there, but cool brother, man. I appreciate your support, Romario. Thank you, man, and thank you for being vocal and not being being intimidated, right? To not speak out and speaking out, right? Because there's a lot of brothers out there, and when I say brothers, I mean all races. I'm not just talking about black, Latino. I'm talking about white too, right? I call everybody. That's my thing now, right? I say brother to people, to guys, and it doesn't matter what race. So to all my brothers there, I'm sure there's people at DPW, that would love to be making some of this money. There's people there probably been there, a long time, still not making this money. People that have since retired that never made this money in all their time working at DPW. And then you get guys that come in there by year 5, they pushing 180,000, 170,000. They got a little steam, as I'm learning from Anthony. They got a little juice, and they get away with things, right? And that's not okay. That's not okay because there's other people that see that. And it's not fair to them. But I hear that, there's also some issues going on over there at DPW, especially at the garage over on Sawmill, over there by, what's that street? Just before you get to Ashburton, and, some individuals, maybe under the influence of heroin and other drugs while at work. And again, this is something that we must take serious. It's not to rat anybody out, but a 16-year-old kid was killed by a DPW worker driving drunk. All right. And so I have kids. If you got kids, you guys should understand this. Save that for outside of work. Listen, hey, do your thing, baby. Stay home and do that. All right. Stay home. Don't drive. Do it at work. Folks, anyway, I got Anthony the manager here. I want to talk a little bit about that. The statement that was put out recently by Mike Hanley, the president of CLSA. Anthony DiMaggio. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Fred. How you doing, pal? How do you like that, huh?
Good. I drink apple juice all the time. It's my thing.
Oh, I like apple juice too, but I was talking about the statement from Mike Hanley.
I was just saying, excuse me, because I was drinking, and I didn't want to be rude. Yes, the statement. Tell me about it. You showed it to me. He put out a statement, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you right now. Actually, I'm gonna send you the link to the article. You know what? Let me do it on my phone real quick.
And so, do you think that it was our, the podcast that we did, right? It was the next day, right, that it came out.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that it was
about it.
That had an impact, and so that's what I'm saying.
Out. Yeah,
and that's great because that means we, and the more people can come on and tune in and really support the show. Again, I don't do this to make $1. You don't see any advertisements anywhere. We do this to, give power to the people. Oh, I like that. Power to the people, or all people. I'm gonna check my email. You sent that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me check it really quick. So tell me a little bit about it while I pull it up here.
I was at work the next day, and somebody reached out to me, and we were talking about the podcast from the night before, and I said, well, what did you think about that, what I had to say about that situation? And he said it was good, especially the part about the union not stepping up, what they did today, he said, my friend. I said, really? What did they do? He was on Hanley issued a statement to LOHUD. I said, no way. Come on. They're going to make it that obvious? I mean, like.
And they did.
I don't know.
So this is the article here. Yonkers sergeant in action during fight under investigation. A Yonkers police sergeant was placed on modified duty after a video showed her. Then she was placed on modified duty after a video showed her doing little to intervene as two brothers repeatedly pummeled and kicked a man as he lay on the ground. Sergeant Amy, what's her last name? How you say that? Kielb?
Yeah, right.
Will be limited to an administrative role and no longer go out on patrol while an investigation is conducted into what the mayor called her inaction. The mayor said this. The president, I didn't even know that.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, did you read the tweets? Are you on Twitter? Because
No,
what we
I don't.
spoke
I don't
about.
do Twitter. Yeah, I don't do Twitter. I'm getting old. I don't do Twitter. But I will talk about that in a second. The presidents of the Yonkers Police Captains, Lieutenants, and Sergeants Benevolent Association said on Monday that the investigation was appropriate, but he took issue with statements by police officials and Mayor Mike Spano that appeared to prejudge the officer. This rush to judgment can only prejudice the sergeant's civil service rights and will render any further investigation predictably preordained. The union president, Detective Captain Michael Hanley, said in a statement, this association demands that the city disavow its rush to judgment and assure the sergeant that its investigation into the incident will be fair, balanced, and objective. Did you get that?
No, and I'm telling you right now, if you think that Mike Hanley wrote that statement, I got a bridge to sell you.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that was the new News 12 communications girl.
No, that was the mayor's speechwriter. I'll tell you exactly what happened, right? Vinny Spano, or one of the Spano brothers, or maybe even the mayor himself, was watching the podcast Sunday night. And when I was talking about how Mike Hanley doesn't do shit for anybody because he's bought off, and they realized that I have him on recordings selling me down the river in my situation, right? Then they realized, wait a minute, DiMaggio was right. Oh my God, he's right. We threw her under the bus, and Mike Hanley hasn't said a word about it. This looks horrible. Right. Now he's explaining how we control the unions, and Mike Hanley hasn't said anything about this situation.
Mike, get up. You got to say
something.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, someone called, where's Handjob? Get him in front of the cameras right now, or whatever. Get him on the phone with Lohud.
Since he was a cop, what is the protocol in that situation? I'm assuming you're talking about the incident that happened. What is the protocol in that situation? I guess if you come upon the scene there, you two guys are beating one guy up, you're by yourself.
Well, again, each situation is unique.
Let's go with the protocol that they would tell you to do, every officer, regardless, if you're a bigger guy or not. I know you would deal with it maybe differently.
Look, the truth is, I'm not really sure what they would even want her to have done in that situation, because they didn't say that, right? All they do is, this is the same thing that they always do when a cop gets into some shit out in the street. Oh, well, what he did was wrong, or what she did was wrong, or what she didn't do was wrong, and we're looking into it. All right. And they never say what the person should have done, the cop should have done. Right.
That's a good point.
I rewatched that video after the podcast, and I'm going to tell you flat out, I don't see anything wrong really with what she did, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. One of the big things that's missing from that video is the audio, right? There's no audio on, usually there's not audio on outdoor surveillance cameras, right? Usually there's not audio on indoor surveillance cameras either, but especially on outdoor cameras.
On outdoor and indoor, but that's me.
Well, maybe in your home, yeah, I would understand that. But on businesses, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it too often. It's not on that video, okay?
Right.
So now that whole video lasted what? It was probably less than a minute, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minute or so, yeah.
I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I think it was less than a minute. So she's calling for backup. I guarantee she called for backup before she got out of the car. Now, because there's no audio, I think that what she heard that we didn't hear was the police cars coming, right? So now she has waiting. Two options, right? Either I'm going to escalate force. I'm going to start taking out weapons, taser, maybe my gun or whatever. The ASP, I don't like. We can have a whole nother conversation about the ASP. It's a bullshit weapon. I would never use it, okay? The OC spray, you can use that on drunk people. A lot of times it doesn't even work. So the taser or the gun, you start pulling out those weapons, people can end up dying. The taser is not always a non-lethal weapon. People think it is often, but you know what happens when you hit someone with a taser and you buckle them? Well, just that, they buckle, right? And they go over like a tree that's just been cut down.
Right.
And they hit their head hard on the sidewalk. Right. Yeah, right. I mean, it's not. Or
even if you have heart problems or something, right? You can, if you have heart conditions, maybe.
There's that. There's a lot that can go wrong with the taser, believe me. So I think the decision that she made was, these guys, it looks bad because the guy's head is bleeding, but head wounds bleed pretty profusely. So it probably wasn't as bad as it looked. I don't know. I haven't.
No, to me, it looks bad just because the kicks and the punches and all that. That's when the guy.
Yeah, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. But you have to understand.
Right.
You have to understand that cops have to make very, very serious decisions in real time without the opportunity for a do-over if they get something wrong. So I think the decision that she made was backup is almost here. As much as it sucks, this guy's just going to have to take another couple of punches or kicks or whatever until they get here. They're right around the corner. And then when there's enough of us, we can break it up without pulling out weapons. I think that's what was going through her head.
And
at
that,
the end of the day, I think it was the right call.
Yeah, I mean, that's sensible. And that's a good point. Obviously, I didn't think about it. You would, as an officer, you've been in situations, you hear the, backup coming just by the sirens and stuff. And yeah, you might be right, because they didn't come, they showed up not too long after. It's just, when you're just watching that, you kind of get stuck on it. But maybe that's what she was doing. She heard the sirens, and she knew backup was coming, and just figured, let me wait a little bit, because I mean, it's true. She wasn't going to be able to do nothing physical. She was going to, and I think that's what people want. Why didn't she pull out a gun and shoot? That's what people are probably thinking more. Not that she intervened, with her own hands, but why didn't she pull out a gun or taser? And I think that's what people are probably.
Yeah,
thinking.
I mean, she was trying to do what she could to pull people apart and give orders and directions and stuff like that. If she pulls out her weapons, people might die. But she didn't pull out her weapons. She used a great deal of restraint, and everybody lived. One guy got his ass kicked, but he's going to live. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as much as it might sound crazy, sometimes the thing to do is nothing, especially if you hear the sirens around the corner. You know
now, why do you think that the mayor made that statement and those tweets were put out by the city? Why do you think that?
Because he's a slave to incumbency. He'll do anything to keep power. He's about to run for a 4th term. And I think he'll just say whatever the public wants to hear, like most crooked politicians.
I mean, but I've seen that the administration seems to really support police officers, a lot. I know there was this whole thing with the contract, but that was a little surprising to hear that the mayor has said, her inaction, right, saying that right away, or not saying something like, well, let's see what the investigation, concludes, and then I'll make a statement.
Right, because, well, like I said in the podcast, if he had a real adversary, you see, unions are supposed to be adversarial to management. It doesn't mean you have to be fist fighting in the parking lot, but you serve as a check on the behavior of administrators and management. Right. That's why those laws legalizing and legitimizing unions many years ago were passed. But when you have them controlled through bribery, you don't have to worry about that. You didn't have to worry about Mike Hanley coming out and saying the statement that I forced his hand to make by highlighting what a moron he is and what a puppet, right? I shouldn't say I should say we, because we did it together, right? We did.
Listen.
I mean, it's your platform, and I'm providing.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree. I say we, and I say we. I mean everybody. Also, people that watch and support. A lot of people want to see this, change. I mean, I'm
not trying to paint the target on your head. I'll take all the credit for it.
I already have a target on my head. I've been there for a while now, so I mean, whatever. But it's when you showed me that, it just reinforced what people have been saying about, when we talk about stuff on a podcast, how it kind of causes some people to move and do things and stuff because of that. So that's great. And that's what we want. We want to be able to say, hey, this is not right. Let's speak up about it and get it resolved. Right. So that's one of the big goals there. But then he came out, and then, you pointed that out right away. It's true. I mean, it's so true. I mean, he hasn't come out for you.
Think about the position that they're in, right? Think about the position they're in, because after the weekend at Fogarty's,
yeah,
a bunch of them were watching that podcast last night.
Yeah,
not last night, Sunday night, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So as I'm, shedding the sunlight, as they say, on this entire situation with the union,
right?
How City Hall controls them. They realize that this is a glaring problem. Like, wait a minute, we threw her under the bus and he didn't say a word. And now DiMaggio is out here showing people. We already know that he has Hanley on recordings throwing him under the bus. Now Hanley is completely MIA in this situation when he should be speaking out.
Right.
This is a real problem. So now what do we do? Do we send him out to make a statement tomorrow, and then DiMaggio gets to take credit for having prompted it? Or do we tell him to keep silent and prove DiMaggio right? So which is, they're between a rock and a hard place. Ultimately, they decided to send him out in front of send him out to the press.
Yeah, I wonder what the sergeant thinks about that, and what's going through her head right now, how she feels.
Everything that I'm saying, I'm telling to the public. The cops already know it.
Yeah.
This is common knowledge. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been talked about a lot of times.
Do you think that anything will happen to her? What do you think? What do you? How do you see this playing out?
Nah, I got it back. I got it back. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'll deal with the public when it comes to her situation. Hanley can keep, putting out stupid statements that the mayor's speechwriter writes for him. But when it comes to stuff like that, I'm gonna explain to the public what's really happening in the video. You know what I mean? If anything else comes like that in the future, I'll give you the analysis that you'll want to hear, because you're gonna get nothing but bullshit from City Hall and from Mike Hanley especially.
Right.
Hanley, the bullshit that Hanley gives you is gonna be bullshit that he got from City Hall. They say, "Hey, hand job, go out and read this," and
Right.
he does it. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is no good. It got to look like you're fighting with us. So get out there and talk to somebody. Here, read this.
But I think she is in a better position today because
Yeah,
of you speaking on the podcast than she would
I would
have been
think
had
so.
you not come on the podcast.
I would think so. Yeah.
I think a lot of officers actually are in a much better place because of that, of you coming out and speaking about it, because and this is why I say to people, you got to get out in front of it, put it out there, and then when it happens, you see, I told you, there it goes. And so that'll make them kind of think twice about how they're going to move. So I think people should be, somewhat happy that you're doing this, or should be happy that you're doing this, because again, this is an example of how you're actually having an impact. And I think that she's going to be in a better, she is in a better situation. She's going to have a better outcome because you had to go through it, right? You were the martyr. Is it that you say the martyr?
Yeah.
The martyr. Yeah, you are. You went through it,
well,
but
I try to remind people all the time that is really the reason that I'm doing this. I'm not doing this just because I'm whining like some little brat about stuff that I went through. I mean, I'm a big boy. I'll get through it. I'll move on. Life will go on. Not a big deal. But
right. So Anthony, before we get up out of here, let's tell them what you plan on discussing this coming Friday. So tomorrow's Friday, right?
Tomorrow is Friday, but I told you I have an engagement to go to tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. You did. I don't even know what day it is. This is the second time I asked someone if today was Thursday, actually. I asked the guys, some of the construction guys.
I'm thinking, I know I'll reach off. I'll reach out. I'm here for
yeah.
I wasn't expecting.
Let me know. Yeah, let me know. Because
offline.
People do ask me. I do get some messages asking when when the podcast's going to be on and the time and stuff. So that way I can let them know. But I appreciate you joining me to this evening real quick for that. Mike Hanley made his appearance. Thanks to you. We want to send our well wishes to the sergeant and to the victim. Also, hopefully he's gonna. He's recovering anyway. Anyway, folks, that's Anthony DiMaggio joining me. We'll be on sometime. Will it be this week possibly or no?
This weekend. This weekend.
This weekend. Okay, perfect. Yeah. We'll be on this weekend like we did last week. So either way, we'll be on. People want to see it. So thank you for joining me. Take care. Have a good rest of the night. Enjoy your thing, and I'll see you this weekend. Take care.
Buddy. Thank you.
I'm Freddie Vasquez, folks. I am out of here tonight. Was this Overtime Pay podcast? We gotta quail that, folks. Our kids need the money. I'm up out of here, folks. That was Anthony DiMaggio. Yeah, and that's crazy, right? That they put out a statement right after. But that's happened. That's happened. And sometimes, I would actually go on and do a podcast about a certain topic when they were really messing with me in my business. And literally the next day I would get a letter from the building department, and it would be a letter I got before, but they had more stuff on the list that I needed to do. You got to see it. It's crazy, right? One time I did a podcast. The very next day I talked about the YIDA. They don't like that. Yonkers Industrial Development Agency. Oh, they don't like that. One time I talked about the YDA. The next day I got a letter from the building department. This was September, the month. I remember this. The letter was dated June, and that's when they had the mop sink on there now. A mop sink? What? It was crazy. And now I have to put a $10,000 fire suppression system, which we're doing that. It's a lot of money that I spent though. But definitely when they're watching, right? People are watching. Either they, people in office are watching directly, or one of their, minions is watching, and they report to them. And so they're definitely watching. They're hearing what we're saying, what I'm saying here on Basement Politics, which is why it's important for us to continue to share these podcasts, continue to work together. We're a team. We're doing this together. Those of us who are looking to improve the city here, I'm definitely down 100%. I hope you're down with me 100%. And as we grow, we get stronger. We're going to create more change. We're definitely having an impact, folks. We are definitely having an impact. People are talking about basement politics. It's crazy when people call me to tell me this, right? I'm like, really? It's crazy, and I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. So let's continue to do this, folks. Remember, November 8th, come out and vote. It's going to be important. Very important. That governor's race, very important. November 8th. Then after that, we should see the council vote on the ending of the term limits. They'll probably do that. We'll see that happen. Term limits will be eliminated. And then we'll see probably Mike Spano going really hard. I anticipate Mike Cater, although I'm hearing that the public, his numbers on polls, or he's not even on polls. Right? That's what I'm hearing. Like right in polls or whatever that they're doing. He's not even on, so he doesn't have a shot. That's what I'm hearing. What do you guys think? Maybe people just don't know that he's running. Maybe they need to know, right? Because he said he's running. So I anticipate the mayor's race to be Mike versus Mike. Which Mike? Tyson, Jordan, Jackson? Pick one. Who was that? Who was that? For I'm Freddie Vasquez. I'm up out of here, folks. Have a good night. Anyway, I can't wait to the Mike versus Mike extravaganza next year. The battle for the mayor. Mike versus Mike. Mike versus Mike.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want somebody to want a chicken. So thank you.
Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
You and I would be the experts. If it were on hot dogs, yes. You and I would be the experts. If it were on hot dogs, yes. You and I would be the experts. If it were on hot dogs, yes.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Benefit him because he doesn't cover. He only talks trash. So that my competition, the guy who always talks about me, benefit him because he doesn't cover. He only talks trash. We are the real McCoy. Because the que hablan español, the hopes that the people will follow them, it's not working. Look at the
wins. Fatality.
benefit him because he doesn't cover. He only talks trash. So that my competition, the guy who always talks about me and say awful things about me, he will not have a problem, guys.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Not long ago, he admitted himself. Not long ago, he admitted himself.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Come on, give it to us straight. Come on, give it to us straight. Come on, give it to us straight. Come on, give it to us straight.
I know you have a lot of women. I know you have a lot of women that work. I know you have a lot of women. I know you have a lot of women that work in your office. And I was also told that you favor some over others. I'm hoping that this is not true, Sammy.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
No!
But I am the bad guy. But I am the bad guy. But I am the bad guy.
Freddie wins. Freddie wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics. You're watching Basement Politics.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
So that my competition, the guy who always talks about me and say, you know, awful things about me, you will not have a problem, guys.
Ready, win. Fatality.